Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Chris here, pastor for Meadows Church. Thanks for taking a few moments to listen in today. This is a Word for Wednesday, and I am next door at a school, next door to my house. There is a lot of road construction going on off to my side, so if over the course of our time together you hear some horns or beeping, some construction vehicles, that's what that is. So we're just going to sit and deal with it, but hopefully they're not too disruptive. This idea of family has been rumbling around in my head the last few days. The last 2 weeks, my family got to go across country and spend some time with our extended family, my wife and I. So I had a week together with my brothers and their families, and then we had a week together with her siblings and their families. And yes, vacation's great. Absolutely loved spending time with all of them. It wasn't necessarily a relaxing vacation because I've got 4 kids. My brothers and brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws and all that also have several kids each. And so large groups of kids have time spending together. We're still having to be mom and dad parents as we're on vacation, even though we're trying to rest and relax. Kids are gonna demand your time, and that's okay. So we had a lot of kids, but it was a lot of fun. And as I was thinking through this idea of family, we got back yesterday. So we flew in, we got up basically in the middle of the night, landed here yesterday, got back into town, and on Tuesday nights is when our small group is. And we had contemplated the idea of maybe missing that small group. We're going to be too tired, going to be worn out from our trip, needed to unpack and get sorted, all that kind of stuff. But for me and Jesslyn, small group is just so important. Small group it's something that we look forward to. It's not something that we begrudgingly do because we think we're supposed to. I need small group and my time with my church, my time with my family as much as those that attend. It's not something that I put on for them by any stretch. It's something that I'm a part of. And so we made a decision, hey, we'll still have a small group. We'll fly in, we'll get unpacked as much as we can. We actually did dinner as well. It was our rotation for dinner. So we got some dinner together. That's more my wife than me. And we sat down and had a great group together. And as I was pondering this idea of family, Jesus had some interesting things to say about it. For you, maybe family is a great experience. Maybe you grew up with great brothers and sisters. You had parents that stayed together and loved each other and taught you the right things and spent time with you, invested in you. You had aunts and uncles and cousins. You got together on the holidays over the summer. Family, when you think about it, was a great experience. Maybe that's what you have. Maybe you're on the other side. That's what I had. I was blessed to have a great family and marry into a great family. For you, maybe you grew up and your parents got divorced. Family wasn't as close. You had either a few siblings or some that you didn't stay close with. Family is this challenge when you think about it. You don't want to get together on the holidays. You don't want to get together in the summertime. It's something that you don't look forward to. Maybe family for you is a negative experience. Maybe family is not something that you love. And I say love. Maybe it's not something that you like. We can say, yeah, we love our family, but maybe do you like your family, right? I get to love and like my family, and maybe that's rare. For you, maybe that's not your experience. But there's this thing that's happened in the church throughout its history as we've wrestled a little bit with who is our family? Who is my family? What does that mean? What is the value? And I think that's what I want to talk about today for just a few moments. You see, family is super important. And our earthly families are just as important, but we don't choose those, right? We're born into it. It's not our decision. It's not our decision whether our parents had a good relationship or they didn't, whether they stayed together or not, whether our brothers and sisters were friendly and kind to us and cared about our interests, or maybe they were older or younger and you didn't really associate with them. We don't get to choose those things. But they are important nonetheless, how we steward our family. And Jesus has something interesting to say, and I want to unpack this a little bit today. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 46 through 50. Jesus is gathered with the crowd. He's teaching the crowds, and this is what happens. As Jesus was speaking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside, asking to speak with him. Someone told Jesus, your mother and brothers are outside, and they want to speak with you. They've kind of interrupted Jesus to say, hey, your family's here, your earthly family, your actual family, your blood family is outside. They want to talk with you. Jesus asked, great question here. Jesus asked, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Then he pointed to his disciples. He looked around and said, these that are gathered as the church, essentially, those following Jesus. He pointed to his disciples and said, look, these are my mother and brothers, pointing to his disciples. Anyone, verse 50, anyone who does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. So as his family comes and has a question for him, wants to speak with him, he looks at the church, essentially. I'm fast forwarding. The church hadn't actually started yet at this point. But he's looking around at his disciples, those following him, those gathered together, and says, essentially, these are my family. This is my family. And it's like, well, Jesus, like, that's kind of rude, right? Like, what about your real family, your actual family? And what I'm saying to you today is coming from a guy, from me, who loves his family, has 4 kids myself, with my wife, and we love spending time together. Anyone who knows me would call me a family man. I'm all about family. But what's interesting about this passage is this idea of family and the church. See, the church is supposed to be our family. And it doesn't supersede and override our earthly family, but instead we should see our earthly family and work toward bringing them into the church, into this family of God, if you will. God as our Father, and each of us as brothers and sisters. Jesus looked around and said, yes, I know I have my family. And he wasn't dissing them and saying, I don't love you guys anymore. I don't like you or want to spend time with you. Not at all. He loved his mom and his brothers tons. But he said, hey, actually these people around me, these people that follow me, the church, this is my family, of which they are a part of. And for us, I think I've seen it perhaps many times to where now the idea of family is strictly our earthly family. And many Christians I've seen have actually made idols out of their family. Let me explain, because that sounds harsh, but a family can be used as leverage into the church. Like if I have kids, I don't need to just pull away and only spend time with them and never think about those around me, my neighbors, those that I'm caring for, those that the church has actually called me to love, and say, well, I'm busy, I got my family. I've seen many people that have pulled away from the church, pulled back, stepped away, been less engaged, and used family as an excuse. Hey, I got my family over here, I'm just gonna spend time with them. You guys handle yourselves, I've got my kids and my wife and I got my family. And honestly, I think that's a mistake. I think when we have a family, if God chooses to bless us with kids, if God chooses to bless us with a spouse, we say, hey, how can we be on mission? How can we join the church? How can we serve Jesus together as a family? If you have kids, then how are you connecting with other families that have kids? If you have a spouse, how are you talking and connecting and loving other people that have spouses that are married? We've made this family, this earthly family, some sort of a goal that we aspire to. Hey, you got to get married, you got to have kids, you got to have this family, right? When honestly, the New Testament, Paul's pretty clear to say, you know what? Get married if you'd like to, but you're going to be more effective. You're going to be able to follow Jesus even better if you don't get married, if you stay single. And honestly, sometimes singleness is frowned upon, looked down upon in our current culture of church. And that's not any way of what we see in God's word. Singleness is great. You don't have to have an earthly family because the church is supposed to be our family. You're joining in with people who love you and care for you, who value you, who speak into your life, who hold you accountable for things that you want to grow in towards. Man, like, that is the family. And as Jesus looked around at his disciples, he said, this is my family. This is who I'm choosing to love and care and be with and spend time with. And this is, in fact, what my idea is for the church, that people would be family. And so if you have a family today, an earthly family, if you're blessed to have a wife or a husband, if you're blessed to have kids, then cherish them, love them, but don't use them as a reason to pull back, pull away, stay disengaged from your neighbors, from those that you live next to and work with, and your church. Lean in instead. Lean into the church. Use your kids as a way to connect with your neighbors. Have your kids play together and spend time together. It's all incorporated together. When you have an earthly family, you don't pull away to spend time with just them at the expense of those around you. We're called as a community of faith, as the church, to love and care for those around us. And in doing so, we become family with them. We become family. And that's what the church is supposed to be. So hey, today, man, I pray that you would be able to see the church as family. Be able to see the church as your brothers, as your sisters, as your mother, as your father. This is what Jesus was able to say. Hey, the church is family. And so wherever you are today, if you're single, you're celebrated. If you're married, you're celebrated. If you have kids, you're celebrated. If you don't have kids, you're celebrated. We love you. You're a part of the family. I would personally love to meet you, connect with you, talk with you. Meadows Church is just getting started, and we're excited, so excited to get going. Visit our website. Come say hello, meadowschurch.com. Check us out online. We'd love to meet you. If you have any questions about what I've said today, feel free to reach out. God bless, and have a wonderful week.